Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture, and it's Billboard Breakdown. Well, we all knew it was coming, because there was two pretty disruptive events on the Hot 100 this week, and we all had a rough idea of the ramifications. We knew this was going to happen. The Grammys would trigger some shifts, but more importantly, Migos would unleash the album bomb of Culture 2. Friendly warning, since I already covered that album, my recaps of individual songs are going to be pretty short. And given that we've got 17 new arrivals, and there really isn't much to say about individual tracks from Culture 2, I am sure you're all going to understand. But for now, Top 10, where for a second week God's Plan by Drake holds the number 1. Sadly, not all that surprising as his competition isn't quite in place yet. Yeah, it dropped back on sales, but with such mammoth streaming and YouTube and real radio traction, its spot looks pretty secure, at least for now. Certainly more secure than Perfect by Ed Sheeran, holding number 2 thanks to airplay dominance and recovering on sales, but it got forced back a fair bit on streaming, and that airplay crown is diminishing with every passing week. Now this definitely makes it vulnerable to Finesse by Bruno Mars and Cardi B at number 3, which has more than enough traction pretty much across the board to be a real force here. It would need God's Plan to slip a little bit on streaming, but that will happen in due time. I can see this being a number 1 contender. Not so much for Havana by Camila Cabello and Young Thug down to number 4, which after getting that top spot spent yet another week diminishing, having peaked on the radio, although its strength in YouTube will guarantee a slightly slower decline than most other songs. Not so much the case with Rockstar by Post Malone featuring 21 Savage at number 5 though, which had an even harder peak on the radio and is declining even faster. Now this puts Bad at Love by Halsey at number 6 in a bit of an awkward place, because it would be set to make a play here if its radio wasn't also declining pretty quickly too, which makes it vulnerable to New Rules by Dua Lipa up to number 7, which might be close to peaking on the radio, which is really all it has, but it's not outright falling off just yet. Then we've got the expected re-entry into the top 10 by Motorsport by Migos, Cardi B, and Nicki Minaj, number 8, thanks to the album bomb. And really, it's just on streaming at this point, and some residual airplay, but really that's enough. The top 10 isn't all that strong. But now we've got our first new top 10 entry, and one that genuinely surprised me, Say Something by Justin Timberlake featuring Chris Stapleton at number 9. And look, I know it's here thanks to enormous sales and a bit of streaming, and that Chris Stapleton is only really in the top 10 thanks to Justin Timberlake, and I'll talk about the song more in detail a lot later, but my god, if the only thing we get out of Man of the Woods album cycle is Chris Stapleton having a top 10 song on the Hot 100, that will be enough for me. That's kind of awesome. Oh, and then we got Thunder by Imagine Dragons at number 10 as it loses sales and airplay. Nobody cares. Let's move on. So, alright, now we're in the losers and dropouts, and like with every single album bomb, this is where the real damage will show up, as we get a bucket of big losses and major dropouts thanks to Migos here, especially of long-running songs. What Lovers Do by Maroon 5 and SZA, Mi Gente by J Balvin, Willie William and Beyonce, Bank Account by 21 Savage, Unforgettable by French Montana featuring Sway Lee, Pills and Automobiles by Chris Brown, Yo Gotti, A Boogie with the Hoodie and Kodak Black, Kuda by 6ix9ine, and I'll Name the Dogs by Blake Shelton. They are all gone right now. And the losses, they were just as vulnerable, albeit for slightly different reasons, and more if you got the majority of your traction off of streaming. So as you would expect, you saw losses off the debut for Diplomatic Immunity by Drake to 55, called it, and for Sick Boy by the Chainsmokers down to 90. Good. Then you had the gains abruptly halted by the Migos swarm, like Kiki by 6ix9ine, Fetty Wap, and A Boogie with the Hoodie to 63, or No Smoke by Young Boy Never Broke Again to 77. Then you had the tunes which were more reliant on streaming that were just muscled back, like Nowadays by Lil Skies featuring Landon Cube to 68, or Codeine Dreaming by Kodak Black and Lil Wayne to 86. Not a good week for Kodak Black. Rubbing Off the Paint by YB and Namir to 91. Mic Drop by BTS featuring Designer to 98. And King's Dead by J-Rock, Kendrick Lamar, Future, and James Blake down to 99. And finally, you got the songs that we're going to see hits either on their way out naturally or just weak as it is, like Endgame by Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, and Future to 43, or Sorry Not Sorry by Demi Lovato to 42, or River by Eminem featuring Ed Sheeran to 44, or Filthy by Justin Timberlake down to 51. Now expect this to rebound next week. That album's probably going to do real well. Hell, Migos has even pushed back other Migos songs, like their collaboration collaboration with Gucci Mane, I Get the Bag, down to 37. Now, where we get to the gains here, given that we don't really have any returning entries, this is where the Grammys had a little bit more of an impact, giving a boost to Logic, Alessia Cara, and Khalid's 1-800-273-8255 to 33. But if you were respecting, say, Praying to return to the charts for Kesha, sorry, great sales were just not enough. The other gains are more straightforward. Stir Fry by Migos gains a huge boost off the album bomb to 12. Wait by Maroon 5 picks up to 56 on sales and radio off the return. Mine by Bozzy rises up to 41 thanks to a streaming surge right off the debut. And Broken Halos by Chris Stapleton picks up to 62, half because of the Grammys and half because of a bit of radio long and coming. And hell, with him notching a top 10 hit now, that can't hurt either. I'd love to see Broken Halos become a hit. And since, again, no new re-entries, let's not waste any time and get to our lengthy list of new arrivals. Starting off with number 96, CC by Migos featuring Gucci Mane.
We having it, drawn to the face, close casket. The pot look greasy, suck me up, she please me. Chanel like CC, upgrade a bitch from BB. If she see money, she go get it. All of her friends, they go with her. She keep up them bands with no nigga. She keep up them bands with no nigga.
So, we're starting off with a track that Quavo co-produced himself, and I won't lie, some of the synthesizers, they don't sound bad against your standard bassy trap knock. But then you hear Quavo trying to rhyme it with her on the hook with some really ugly auto-tune, Gucci Mane struggling to keep up, and Takeoff sounded like he'd rather be anywhere else as they just rattle through more brand name porn, especially Chanel. Sorry Quavo, decent synth lines are just not enough to make this interesting or passable. Next, number 94, Most People Are Good by Luke Bryan.
Ought to qualify for sainthood. I believe most Friday nights look better under neon or stadium lights. I believe you love who you love, ain't nothing you should ever be ashamed of. I believe this world ain't half as bad as it looks. I believe most people are good.
You know, I feel like a lot of critics talking about Luke Bryan these days are really grading on a curve and giving him a pass, especially when it comes to this song, which takes high crooning backing vocals against some warm guitar work and with Luke Bryan settling into optimistic dad mold. And you know what? There are some good sentiments here. Everybody should love who they love and never be ashamed. Learn how to forgive and learn how to have fun in your youth. Those are fine enough ideas. But then you get the whole expected put away technology sentiments for the kids on the second line of the first verse, and how if you just go by the nightly news, you would lose faith in mankind. And look, I'll be blunt here. The reason all that bad stuff shows up on the news is because there is an audience that enables it and watches it, and the privilege to just turn it off and live in ignorance. That's something that a lot of people just can't afford to do in a rapidly changing world that is sometimes set against them. Won't be for you, but when you get this sort of shallow sentimentality, look, Luke Bryan's heart is in the right place, but it just does not resonate with me at all, especially coming with this particular sound. And there were better songs on that last album, and that last album wasn't very good. Pass. Number 92, El Farsante by Ozuna. Serious question, what does anybody see in Ozuna's vocal delivery? His delivery is so frail that when he's now expected to hop on triplet flows and a blocky trap beat against oily keys, synth flutes, and watery plucks, just sounds so ugly and clunky, and the content doesn't help him here. So what? You're apologetic that you cheated and you now want a relationship with this girl because you think that she's rightly gonna dump you, and yet nowhere in the song do you actually apologize for cheating? No, none of this works for me remotely, and I'm not remotely convinced this guy can carry a song on his own. At least with Cardi B we had some balance, but otherwise, no. Pass. Number 87, Emoji a Chain by Migos.
I shot the game, make an emoji a chain. Put on the pallet to change it, the weather, the shit turning into the rain. Put on the pallet to change it, the weather, the shit turning into the rain. I shot the game, make an emoji a chain. I shot the game, make an emoji a chain. Put on the pallet to change it, the weather, the shit turning into the rain. Put on the pallet to change it, the weather, the shit turning into the rain.
Do you ever get the impression that Migos might not be trying all that hard, or going for a cheap, gaudy idea that they really can't pull off? Emoji chain, prime example. Aside from the asinine conceit, they're also describing their diamonds like McFlurries amidst the brand name porn and coke dealing against an incredibly basic hollow synth melody and flat bass beat. Seriously, was Metro Boomin trying here much either? The only thing kind of interesting is how Quavo thinks he can turn his emoji into a whip, which doesn't even pretend to make sense. So yeah, next, number 85, Autopilot by Migos.
I didn't graduate, but I know chemistry of science. Park it, skirt it. Everybody know we working. Young nigga still murking. Young nigga with the burden. Ooh, watch it move. Ooh, shake 'em out the shoes. Ooh, VVS Jew, G.I. Jew, nigga what it do? Yeah.
Hey, look, it was what Migos was on for the majority of culture too. This time we get an even more brittle plucked synth from Quavo, playing off slightly more discordant elements as he talks about being like a G.I. Jew. Seriously. And when he follows up with just repeating lines ad nauseum on his verse, and Takeoff admitting that he's probably for the best that he broke this girl's heart and moved on, which I'd probably agree with. But you know what? I've already lost interest. Better than the last few Migos songs, but that's not saying much. Number 83, Higher We Go intro by Migos.
Higher we go, beg and plead for the culture. Higher we go, beg and plead for the culture. Higher we go, beg and plead for the culture. Higher we go, beg and plead for the culture. Higher we go, beg and plead for the culture. Higher we go, beg and plead for the culture.
Okay, let me give Migos some credit here for a slightly more developed instrumental. The guitar is playing off the warping sample at the back against the bells. It does not sound bad. But then you have all the auto-tune drizzle over Quavo's hook and his verse, Takeoff making a pun off of Post Malone's name that only barely makes sense as he brags that he's bigger than both Floyd Mayweather and Oprah. And even with that, it feels like Offset and Takeoff's verse were less than Quavo's combined. What sense does that make when they actually kind of snap there? Still, of the Migos songs I've talked about, it's tolerable. I can listen to this. Number 75, New Freezer by Rich the Kid featuring Kendrick Lamar.
Hop off a jet to a check when I land. My bitch too foreign in the visa. I don't need her. Pull a drop top with an eater. Two-seater. New bitch wanna fuck in my AP. New freezer. I woke up thinking about bands. Hop off a jet to a check when I land.
So okay, when I saw Kendrick Lamar collaborating with Rich the Kid, I was a little perturbed. For as much as Kendrick might phone it in on a pop verse or when he's putting together the Black Panther soundtrack, when he teams up with a rapper, he tends to really snap. And Rich the Kid, I wasn't all that familiar with him, but he's been flooding the market with mixtapes for the past couple of years, and he's gotten a couple big cosigns, so maybe this might stand out amidst the rest of the trap songs, and nope, not a chance in hell. Yeah, the trap snares, they've got a little bit more sharpness than average against the blocky bass beat against the repetitive backing melody, but what in the nine hells does Rich the Kid's choppy flow add to anything here, especially when the content is just more forgettable flexing and bragging? And of course Kendrick Lamar is going to show him up with a verse that is a little more melodic, but you cannot tell me that Kendrick put more than 5 minutes into his bragging and effort here. This is some phoned in slapdash shit from a rapper who is really capable of better. Granted, by this verse alone it's passable, I can listen to this, but I will not call this remotely good, and I really wish that Kendrick would be a little bit more careful with his cosigns, because Rich the Kid on his own, or XXXTentacion last year, not impressed. Number 73, Gang Gang by Migos.
Posted with the gang gang, gang gang. Pull up with the gang gang, gang gang. Shoot out with the gang gang, gang gang. I be reppin' gang gang, gang gang. I shoot with the gang gang, gang gang. Bang with the gang gang, gang gang. Ride out with the gang gang, gang gang. Always rep the gang gang.
Ah yes, the Migos song that was pretty much derided by even the fans off of Culture 2, and yeah, kind of a reason why. The weedy trap skitter, the desaturated melody with the faded female voice, the auto-tune drizzled over everything, Takeoff crooning about how he wants nachos. Yes, I get the reference, it doesn't make it any less funny. A near complete lack of momentum, and what might be the laziest hook Migos have ever made. Especially if this song is all about gang shit, there's very little actual detail beyond the average, and even then, it's below average there. So yeah, pretty bad. Next, number 64, White Sand by Migos featuring Travis Scott, Ty Dolla $ign, and Big Sean. Okay, why in the nine hells does anyone get both Travis Scott and Ty Dolla $ign on a song like this? They effectively fill the same role in the auto-tune swamped out hook, and it's not like their content is remotely interesting. This is before you get Big Sean coming up to sound even more basic and lazy than usual. He adds nothing to the song that Migos couldn't already bring. Hell, they probably already substitute for Travis Scott and Ty Dolla $ign, and you can tell that they're not remotely trying here either against this underweight, oily production. Talking about a waste of talent and a waste of money. Skip it. Number 53, Supastars by Migos.
Superstars out. Brand new cars. We by the bar now. Swaying doors now. Fuck on hoes now. Smash. Chats and goals. Rock the shows.
You know, Quavo, just repeating your ad-libs to open up the hook doesn't make it interesting against that glossy synth and grinding bass, and it's a little bit jarring keeping that production when Takeoff is talking about blowing off people's heads, and Offset is talking about how hoes are addicted to faucets. And when you pile up all the brand name porn and how the hook just seems to run into the flows with no significant shift or impact in the production, we have somehow yet another forgettable tune here. Next, I guess? Number 52, Notice Me by Migos featuring Post Malone.
Saint Laurent on board my feet. All this jewelry, they gon' notice me. And you know I got that roll on me. I pull it slow with me. Saint Laurent on board my feet. All this jewelry, they gon' notice me.
At this point, I have no idea why Migos gets other auto-tune crooners on the song. I said it before, I'll say it again. Especially when, for as much as they rant about people jacking the culture, we have the main offender front and center right here. And when you pair it with that ugly, grainy click of the beat, some really horrible mixing as a whole, Quavo sleepwalking through the post-chorus, and no significant melody, the only saving grace is Takeoff kind of snapping on his verse. And even that, it's barely saying much, as this, still pretty bad. Skip it. Number 48. Bad Bitches Only by Migos featuring 21 Savage.
Looking like a lighthouse. Nigga pipe down. Chopper make it pipe down. Running man, catch me if you can. Bad bitches only. Bad bitches on me. Bad bitches only. Bad bitches on me. Bad bitches only. Bad bitches on me. Bad bitches only. Bad bitches on me.
Alright, you know what? I'll give some credit where it's due. Kanye West bringing production with a little bit more opulence and the blended horns. It's a better beat than Migos and 21 Savage can really use well or deserve. And nothing that's more indicative of that than 21 Savage's auto-tune assisted but still monotonous hook, and how none of the trio really deliver any sort of distinctive content or edge that can flatter this. Hell, for as much as this song rambles on about bad bitches only, none of the Migos can stay focused on just that before bragging about brand names and their cars. Seriously, although the production might kind of save this from being worse, I'm getting kind of irked by all the wasted potential here. Seriously, did they even try on this? I think I'm probably answering my own question. Next, number 36, Narcos by Migos.
Cut throat like Pablo. Chop trees with the Draco. On the north got Diego. Say hasta luego. We'll be in rapping kilo. Snub nose with potato.
Ah yes, the very rare song where Migos might actually stay on topic and infuse some Latin influences to play against the darker, thicker beat. Shame the guitar has never given any sort of real presence or tone in the mix, but it does help the song stand out a little bit more, especially as it seems like Migos are a little bit more focused when they're talking about killing people in increasingly gory fashion, especially from Takeoff and his chainsaw. Although, I have to ask, where the hell is Offset copying a pterodactyl? And how the hell is this not getting more attention? Offset knows where to find dinosaurs. But yeah, for what this is, works pretty decently. I'll take it. But still, the dinosaurs, you're asking some real questions here. We need to know this. Number 28, You Make It Easy by Jason Aldean.
Loving up on you, make it easy with every little thing you do. You're my sunshine in the darkest days, my better half, my saving grace. You make me who I wanna be. You make it easy.
It always strikes me as a little bit weird when I see Jason Aldean tracks making a big splash on the Hot 100 proper, not just the country charts. And he sold a lot of units with this one, it's why his debuted so high. But okay, I've been very hit and miss with Jason Aldean throughout his career, mostly missed, especially off that last album, so did this manage to stick the landing? Well, Honestly, I'd argue he did. Although, let's get real. This is exactly the sort of song I would expect Jason Aldean to make after hearing Chris Stapleton once. It's damn near a ripoff. The organ, the live vocal pickup, the 3/4 time, Jason Aldean actually making an effort to emote vocally on a love song that isn't so heavily reliant on minor tones. But at the same time, Jason Aldean kinda does it well. It's not complex in the composition or the songwriting. I'm not wild about how he claims that God made this girl for him. It's kind of self-serving as a lot of his work has been. But as a pivot away from inorganic production to something with a little bit more soul behind it, along with a very welcome guitar solo, yeah, nice stuff, Jason Aldean. I dig it. Number 23, The Middle by Zedd, Maren Morris, and Gray. Okay, so as you all know, I'm Canadian, and we don't have Target in Canada. They tried to expand up here, they failed miserably, they filed for bankruptcy in 2015. And thus when I heard that this song was gaining traction based off of its usage in a Target commercial, well, to me I hoped that it wouldn't matter, because it's not like we have the damn store. Maybe I'd be able to enjoy it without the lingering knowledge that it was more commercial than song. But really, after listening through the song, that was the least of this song's problems. For one, who thought that ugly auto-tune vocal production was a good idea for Maren Morris? She doesn't need it, especially against that underweight beat, the unceasing ticking, and the guitar and synth fragments that sound flattened and just gross. It's emblematic of all of Zedd's production work these days, and that's choppy and lacking any sense of groove or momentum or cohesion. And it's not like the midpoint reached in any sort of relationship drama here feels remotely listenable. Oh, and to hammer down on this, there's not a damn thing country about this song. And you might as well add Maren Morris to the list of other pop starlets, because anybody else claiming this has any country foundation, they are lying and they are wrong. And in a stronger week, this would have easily been one of the worst, but given that we're dealing with Migos here, let's just settle for grating mediocrity. Next, and speaking of Migos, number 18, Walk It Talk It by Migos featuring Drake.
Walk it like I talk it. 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 Hey, walk it like I talk it. 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 Hey, walk it like I talk it. Walk it like I talk it.
So this is the last Migos song we're talking about this week, and it's almost fitting that it's with Drake, utterly phoning it in on a guest verse, because after all, he was one of the first to really push this whole idea of stream trolling on the Hot 100. But again, I can't really blame Drake for this. Like Migos, he saw an opportunity and he took it. The music's not particularly listenable, but I get it from his point of view. Now, the blame here lies with two groups. The playlist makers at Spotify and Apple Music who decide to front load every single track from these projects onto the list the week that they drop, and then the listeners who won't find or build a better playlist. At the end of the day, if you're sick of Migos, you're sick of Drake, some of this is on you to find better stuff given how much more streaming matters on the charts. And as for the song, hollow, desaturated keys, an incredibly choppy hook, by the numbers trap beat, Quavo bragging about giving himself scoliosis as he swerves, Takeoff thinking about buying a faucet, and Offset talking about hitting a bitch on the verse is better constructed than anything else here. In other words, it's just more Migos. And good luck remembering anything of the songs beyond the isolated references that I call out here once all this stuff falls away. And the sooner, the better. And finally, number 9, Say Something by Justin TImberlake featuring Chris Stapleton.
Say something and say something. I don't wanna get caught up in the rhythm of it, but I can't help myself. No, I can't help myself. No, caught up in the middle of it.
We're at the final song, one that I've already referenced in my Justin TImberlake review as being one of my favorites on the album, but let's get real, it's more because of Chris Stapleton than JT himself. Even underplaying and mixed more as a backing singer, Chris Stapleton has a lot more presence in the mix. He owns this song, even as the mix struggles to merge the skitters and blubbery low end with the acoustic groove. And that's where we get the backing segments that sound like they were recorded underwater for those vocals. But even then, the hook has some muscle, and Chris Stapleton and Justin TImberlake have good chemistry, but now we gotta get get to the content. And as I said in the review, this is very much a song about taking a stand and saying something. Or maybe perhaps the best way to say something is to say nothing at all and stand back and listen. But of course they can't help themselves, they have to say something. And you know what? The more I go through the song, the more I wish that the something described here actually had some detail to it, not just held as an abstract and thin concept. You know what? Say something, say anything. But as a whole, you know what? It's a two-horse race between this and Jason Aldean, and I can't believe I'm saying it. I think I'm gonna give it to Justin TImberlake and Chris Stapleton, where the production doesn't quite click in the same way. And the lyrics, they could build up to more, but the hook does connect. The groove is pretty good. There's a lot of chemistry, and if this is the chance for Chris Stapleton to finally hit a real mainstream breakthrough, I will take what I can get. Jason Aldean definitely gets the honorable mention though with You Make It Easy. It's easily the best thing that he's put out in, I think, a few years. I'm actually a little bit stunned and encouraged about the record. Now, as for the worst, yeah, it's all Migos, and it's gotta go to Gang Gang, with dishonorable mention being a tie between Notice Me with Post Malone and A White Sand with Travis Scott, Ty Dolla $ign, and Big Sean. Lord, I did not like that song. Dear God, this week was a slog. And next week, we got the fallout, and who knows what that's gonna bring. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.